Hi, I'm Bukeka. I'm the B.
And I'm Enolia, and I'm the E.
Together, we are Be Empowered.
The universe is calling, calling, calling. The universe is calling me to be. The universe is calling me to love beyond my boundaries. The universe is calling me to be. It's calling me to listen more, talk less, and hold the light. The universe is calling me to be.
We believe that deep in our souls, we hold conversations, but for whatever reasons, we do not always take the opportunity to speak from our hearts.
We want you to imagine that you're sitting right here with us now, sipping a cup of tea or coffee at our dining room table, and we're having that conversation. You know, the one that encourages, inspires, and motivates you to the infinite possibilities that your life has to offer.
Let us help you to expand your imagination, to create your beautiful dream into reality. It starts right here and right now, because the universe is calling you to be.
The universe is calling me to sing into the heavens. The universe is calling me to sing. Oh, to sing like I have never sung in all my given lifetimes. The universe is calling me to sing. The universe is calling, calling, calling. The universe is calling me to be. The universe is calling, calling. The universe is calling me to be. It's calling me.
Well, hello, everybody. It is Be Empowered. My name is Bukeka, and I've got my dear friend here, Enolia. We are so excited to bring part 2 of topic we had the last time, which is about coaching. Enolia, how excited are you about finishing up this topic today?
I'm so excited. Thank you so much, Bukeka. And yes, coaching is so important as coaches need coaching too, which is part 2 of our episode. So yes, I'm really excited to have this discussion this week.
Me too. We were so energized from the last session, and we realized that there is so much more room because of the fact that it is not just something that we love to do, but it's something that is a international trend. And so there are lots of people that are looking for guidance on how to start, what to expect, and if they're even the right fit for it. So that's primarily where I think we ought to start off with, Enolia, for people that are thinking about jumping into it and really wondering, is it for them?
Bukeke, you are so right. So many people have come to want to be coaches, and it's interesting because some of them have this passion for coaching, and some of them are actually pushed to coaching. And so, what do I mean by push to coaching? I mean that here we are in this world where we're responding to the pandemic and our world is stopped, and maybe you're one of those people who had to deal with having to change your vocation. And so, what has happened is that people have gone to things that they're passionate about, like coaching, giving advice, so on and so forth. So, yes, quite a few people have come to coaching. But one of the questions that we might want to face is that because that has taken place, should everyone be a coach? And I'll just ask that hard question. What are your thoughts on that?
You know, that is the question of the day when it comes to this industry. Should everybody be a coach? How do you evaluate yourself? One of the questions that came up to me is a lot of people are responding or coming into this industry from an emotional standpoint, really. The pandemic was a very emotional time. People are dealing with the emotions of losing their jobs or choosing to leave their jobs, all these decisions that are basically, as you said, a reaction to a situation. So now it's time to say, okay, is this really for me? Do I have the skill set? Do I have the tools? Do I have something other than I feel like this is a good thing for me to do, as in terms of your decision making process? And I think a lot of people have jumped into this based on that. And I love what you said too about being pushed into it. You know, people who have been extremely helpful in some sense or have contributed to the health and well-being of someone else, they're often said, hey, you know what, you should take a look at becoming a coach. And people are like, really, are you sure about that? And then they end up doing something that is suggested to them, but it might not be their genius. What do you think about that?
I think that you're right because what happens is that, you go out, you take this certified coaching course, and then, you're going, okay, I have all of the tools. Somebody has given me the tools. All I have to do is put them to use. And they made some suggestions on how to approach and everything else. And then you get into reality and you go, I feel awkward. I feel uncomfortable. I don't know how to handle this conversation. This conversation's over my head. Or you try to give them everything except the kitchen sink, but everything that you learn all in one little sitting because you're not quite sure what should take place. So you give them a little bit of everything, seeing if something will pan out. Hence, our coaching the coaches, what would you tell a series of coaches that are sitting in an audience if you had the advantage and the opportunity to speak to all of them, knowing that some people have arrived in this case?
Here's what I would say. I would ask the question, what is your genius? And if you don't know what your genius is, then you need to explore that before you enter into the realm of coaching. Now, if your genius is arts and crafts, okay, and you have the knack for that, and you feel like, well, maybe that's something that I can teach other people, then great. But make sure that you find the tools and you also learn how the skill works of actually taking someone from point A to point B. That's something that's very tangible, something that people who have a natural gift for something can show and demonstrate. But then you have these coaches that are really dealing with some deep, deep experiences, trauma, experiences such as identity, experiences that many times we lean towards individuals that have some type of psychology or psychiatry behind their name. Now, I'm not suggesting that you have to be a psychiatrist or a psychologist to help someone pull through grief, so to speak. But I am suggesting that if you don't know how to do that, if you don't have the genius for that, then you shouldn't do it. Same with a situation where, say, a person has started a lifestyle coaching session. Okay, well, what's your lifestyle like, right? What is it that you bring to the table that you can authentically share with another individual? And it doesn't mean that you have to have the perfect cookie cutter lifestyle, but you do have to have a sense of what that means to someone else. And if you have a great feeling about how you live and what your livelihood is, and you have a great sense of knowing who you are, and you enter that into your coaching structure, then you likely have a great opportunity to help someone do the same. Again, you don't have to have the $5 million house or the Maserati in order to share with someone. Here is a way that you can really improve the experience of your lifestyle or your well-being. But again, if you're getting into those situations where something may come up in that individual's coaching experience that you don't have the wherewithal on how to really handle it, then you need to make sure that you have either learned some skills or you've got some resources that are going to help you with some more serious type of reactions or responses from clients that you're coaching.
And this whole idea that people will say to you sometimes, fake it till you make it. I'm going to just say to our audience, don't do that. Do not do that. You are working with someone's life and their lifeline and their lifestyle. And if something has arisen that you feel that you shouldn't and cannot handle, then you might want to at least have the security enough to say, you know what, this is a bit much for me. Maybe you need to deal with a professional. So I don't want to discount the professionals out there. I was recently speaking with a friend of mine who is a psychologist. And, it was interesting because there are a lot of topics that you, as an innate coach and these coaching certifications, are not going to touch on. And they are serious, serious subjects. You have subjects such as addictions, and there are sexual addictions, there are all kinds of addictions that can unveil themselves. Okay? Traumas. There are traumas that can unveil themselves that are just like, okay, how do I handle this that has impacted people's lives so much that a professional needs to deal with it? Lifestyles. We look at the lifestyles that are very, very apparent in our world, but there are a lot of underground lifestyles that people will not discuss openly that people engage in, and so the other part of this that I look at is that when we're doing this too, we have to come from a place of non-judgment. So these are key tools. And in as much as that I've been a coach for a long time and I've worked with coaches, there are topics I can't handle. And when I was talking to my friend who was a psychologist, and she was talking about some of the sexual deviancy that comes out in some of her clients and blah, 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 not in terms of the fact that it's taking place, but in terms of she's been trained. And that's the respect that we have to give these professionals out here. They've been trained. They get an refresher. You're not going to get that in a certification course. And so there's also a certain amount of common sense that basically says, okay, I've just peeled back the layer of onion that says, I can't handle this. That's a little bit too much over my head. I don't have the training for this. I don't have the skill set for this. And I don't know how to even approach dealing with that. And I need to make a referral. So, please use this as a tip, if nothing else, because there's so many people out there just saying, I'm a coach, I'm a coach, I'm a coach, I can deal with anything. And even as a experienced coach myself, there's a lot that's out there that we may not necessarily be able to deal with.
That is extremely powerful, Enolia, because again, you are dealing with someone's life. You're dealing with someone's psyche. You're dealing with someone's past and their inability to really move forward in the future without dealing with some of those things. So if you don't really have the tools, and the knowledge, nor the skill set to really help them along, you can really be endangering someone's life rather than helping them. And then the other thing that I think is really important for coaches to, or people who want to become coaches should be aware of, is that your ego is not going to help your client, right? Now we
Mm-hmm.
all have some form of ego, right? We know what we know, right? But in the sense where we're coming from a coaching perspective, we have to be willing to be open to receiving information that can help. We cannot come from the space of I know everything, because we might not about a particular situation. So you really stepped into that when you said it's time to call upon our resources. It's time to call upon someone that might be able to help. And you can't do that or make that call if you're coming from a place of ego. And we know, Enolia, we see coaches all the time on their social media. When you actually get into the conversation with them, I know this, I know that, and may even say things to individuals that can be demeaning or hurtful because they're stuck in their ego. And you cannot be an effective coach if you're stuck in your ego. It's so important to come from that place of love, compassion, just like you said, non-judgment. And when you come from that space, not only can you help that individual feel more cared for and more valued if you than if you didn't. So that was that hit home. Those points you made hit home for me.
As I sit here listening to you, I really would love the fact that if you have a skill set for coaching like business or artwork or something that's really tangible, by all means, we're not talking about like that unless you've never run a business before. So you shouldn't be coaching business people if you haven't run a business, or let's say, your business successes have been minimal. You should have at least understood, like, it's one thing to do a business startup versus you're going to tell somebody how to get a better ROI and you don't have one yourself. So I guess I'm saying stand on solid ground. Stand on solid ground when you're making recommendations. Come from your experiences, absolutely. Come from a non judgmental place that is going to afford you to learn sometimes from your own clients as much as you listen and you share and you guide. And that's the key thing here. A lot of people need guidance, but it's not dictatorial. Okay, so there is this delicate balance that we play, and I guess the recommendation would be is to ensure that you are cognizant and conscious of the fact that it is a balance, it is a guidance, it is a recommendation, but it's not dictatorial. It's not everything I know and you're wrong, I'm right, and anything you do couldn't be correct. It is a conscious awareness that says that maybe you need to go out and learn more about that. And I can't help you, but what I can do is suggest that you take the time, pause where you are, go learn about it, book learn, or share or connect with people who are more experienced in it versus giving a recommendation that you know good and well you're not sure about yourself.
Hit the nail on the head. You hit the nail on the head. You said a word that I think is very important and pretty distinctive when it comes to establishing a coaching career, and that's conscious. Having your practice or your coaching style come from a place of consciousness is very important. So, some people listening to this may be going, what does she mean by consciousness? What does that mean? And what I'm saying is that it's about awareness and becoming acutely aware of who you are and making sure that you become acutely aware of your client. A lot of that comes from listening without judgment, listening without interruption, listening with soft ears, and giving yourself permission to digest all of that information and then come back to that client of yours from that place of, I know who you are. I have a good feeling I know who you are. And that's because you're aware. Clients come to coaches many times completely unaware, right? They're unaware of their behavior. They're unaware of why they're even coming to you as a client at all, because they're stuck, they're afraid, they're ashamed, they're whatever, but they have a hard time pinpointing or articulating what's going on. So the coach is the one that helps them do that, and you can't do that without listening, being conscious, being aware, noticing, doing those really, really soft, what we call soft skills that are even beyond what we understand what that list is to be. It's really a spiritual element from my perspective, and that means getting in touch with the things that you can't see versus the things that you do see.
You are so correct in that. I love what you said. And it's just the soft skills make the difference in terms of whether a client wants to engage you or not. I mean, let's face it, if you're so busy interrupting them and telling them what to do and how to do it, then by all means, you've just lost it. You've lost the capability, you've lost the client. Because who wants to engage somebody who doesn't listen? Listen, 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 listen. Who's judging them? And the soft skills go on. You're absolutely right.
Well, I've got a great coach.
Ah!
I really mean that. I mean, a lot of what I learn about coaching well is from not only being someone that you have coached, but also just really observing and seeing how considerate you are. And here's another skill that set that I think that people ought to really understand when it comes to coaching that I see and value so much in you. Even practicing those soft skills is good. It's great. But at some point, because they need a change, that client is looking for a way out. And at some point, you got to turn up the heat, right? You got to turn up the heat and say, okay, let's demonstrate something now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's really put these things into action and let's see it in operation. And you're going to have to get rid of the fear. You're going to have to jump into the water. You're going to have to do those things, take those action steps in order to even know that you're you're engaged in the coaching process and you're willing to take that information and go for it. And sometimes you need somebody that says, hey, Missy, get with the program here.
Yes.
And you do such a great job at that, and you do it with such love and compassion. But yeah, it's important that you do have the skill set, confidence, know-how, awareness, consciousness to be able to tell somebody, look, sister, or look, brother, this is what you really need to do. And if you don't do this, it's not going to get done.
Exactly. And thank you. Thank you for the compliment, but also remember it's reciprocated here too. I mean, one of the beautiful things that you do is that you are able to step back and really see a complete picture of what's taking place in front of you. And I love that about you. So, yes. And this is how we complement each other. So those of you who are listening, it's not when you're not coming from a place of ego, you can receive feedback, you can receive criticism that's going to help you improve or grow. I always feel like criticism is a gift when you can embark or when you can act on it to improve yourself. If somebody is criticizing you just for the sake of criticizing you, well then no, that's not the gift. But the gift is that if it's something that you can improve upon immediately and you can see clear line of sight, yeah, I do that, then it is something worth embracing. It is something worth self-reflecting over. And if you know that it's not coming from a person who has an agenda or an ego, that those qualifiers are very, very, very key in order to grow from. Because if someone's coming with an ego and they have an agenda and they just want to make you feel bad, then by all means, please, please, please don't listen to that. But if you know that they have your best interests at heart and you feel it and it resonates with you, and I'll say it like this, and we don't want to lie to ourselves. So in other words, you'd be lying to yourself because oh yeah, I can do that. And only one who can say that to themselves is you. then you know that it's something positioned to help you grow. So self reflect, grow, learn the lesson, and improve upon yourself. What are your thoughts?
Spot on. We can't help others grow if we're not willing to grow ourselves. And if we're not willing to grow ourselves, we can't become a master at what we do. We can't become proficient or a subject matter expert at what we do if we're not willing to grow. And if you look at all of the people that we have seen historically that may not necessarily have been coaches, but they've inspired us, they have motivated us, like a Maya Angelou. She was a lifelong learner, talked about it till she left the planet, about being willing to um, grow and learn and expand your thinking. So if people like Maya Angelou and so many of the great authors and poets and people of those in academia have said, we can all continue to learn, then as coaches, we certainly need to follow that same path. And so I'm going to turn a question back to you, Enolia. So you're in a room of wannabe coaches. They are chomping at the bit to know what it's going to take to become a successful coach. What would you tell the audience?
So I guess I would tell the audience that it starts with you. It starts with me. You know, did I do my work so that I created a strong foundation such that I am not trying to fake it till I make it, but I am drawing from something real, authentic, something that I've taken the time to really think about, process, and navigate through in my life. Because goodness knows that's how we become the experts, right? We have taken the opportunity or we've had an experience that we've navigated through life to get through, and then we can draw from those experiences as others approach us with what they've gone through. And when you do your own work, then you're coming from an authentic place. When you're coming from an authentic place, people see it and therefore they can relate to it. And then as you tell that story, then they understand then and relate to that story. They can see how they can improve upon themselves also. Okay? And that I would say is the qualifier for any coach. Any coach. So I think that I would start off with that.
Sounds good. Where do I sign? Where do I sign?
Oh my goodness. But that whole, again, I'll go back to that words because we hear people saying that fake it till you make it, who's going to know, everyone knows. Because you're doing a dance and you think that nobody can see that you don't know the steps. And when you don't know the steps, it's usually apparent. And then all you need is one person to really knock you off that stage by asking you the pertinent thing that would have you draw from that expertise, and you don't know how to answer it.
Right, right. So I would imagine, Enolia, that, and I really want people to have thought about going into coaching, or they've started and they're not sure of what to do, to email us and let us know if there are any other topics that you'd like for us to cover. We're definitely not in that realm of thinking that we have all the answers. And it may be a great idea to have someone else come in that has that perspective, so that we have another, not necessarily opinion, but another individual that has something to lend to the conversation. We're really, particularly if it's about a specific area. We've talked about people who are a business coach, or talked about people who have a particular skill set: photography, art, music, whatever that is. And if there's a particular skill set that we see that people are saying, hey, I want to know more about that, we are more than willing to invite someone that has that skill set onto our program and maybe give a perspective that we don't necessarily have, because maybe it's not our genius, and we're in our genius. We know what works for us, but maybe there's some questions that come up that we find would be helpful to bring someone else on. So let us know your thoughts. Where are you in the exploring coaching process? What more is it that you would like to know? Share that information with us. We'd be happy to look at that and help address it specifically.
I love what you said. And Bukeka, is there any last words that you would have our audience know based on this topic from us?
I would say that if you decide to enter into the coaching arena, the best thing you can do is be coachable.
I love it. And I would say that don't let your situation push you into something that you may or may not like. Make sure that you love what you do and you do what you love. As simple as that.
Awesome. That was great, Enolia. Thank you so much again for just being a partner, friend, and colleague. We have a great time doing BE Empowered, and we really hope and we believe that it is very helpful to our listeners. So thank you so much, Enolia.
Thank you,
And
Bukeka.
yes.
Yes.
And you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. And thank you for listening to BE Empowered.
Empowered. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed the show. We look forward to bringing you more shows in the future. To learn more about our co-hosts, check out their websites, www.bukekastyle.com and www.enolia.live. Learn about their masterclasses for conscious transformation, their personal coaching, along with their international retreats and expeditions. Are you an entrepreneur looking for another line of income? Check out www.planetmarketing.com/Enolia and www.planetmarketing.com/bblakemore. We are here to transform your life. Thank you for listening.